Hello, our users. Was that a vibraphone or a xylophone? I don't really know the difference there, but it sounded very vibraphone-ish there. My name is John Kulas. I'm a 20-year professor of industrial and organizational psychology, 12-year user of R for normal, boring statistical applications, but for the majority of that time, for 10, maybe 9 or 10 years out of those 12, I've also been executing full projects from within the same environment that I specify my R analyses. And so historically, that was facilitated via R markdown. Currently, for the last couple of years, we've been using a piece of software called Quarto, but effectively, it looks like it's R. So it looks like you're authoring with R. And so every week, we hang out here just to promote this way of structuring your work if you're working with data. If you consider yourself to be doing tasks that are related to this field called data science, if data science is still a thing, there's some debate currently ongoing about that, which is funny because it just became a thing. But if you're working with data, if you're making reports, if you're creating presentations, there's no reason to do the analytical stuff within your analytical environment and then move it over, port it over, copy paste it, however you want to do it, to a report or to a slide deck. You don't need to do that. You can do it all within the same environment. And so that's what we're here each week promoting, is this way of structuring your work. Because first of all, if you want to help support it, give a like and subscribe. That helps. But the metaphor that we use here every week is an academic office hour, so I'll hang out for about an hour and just make myself available. I think it's important to do this live. I don't see a lot of other people doing this live and making themselves available. Certainly not with what we're focused on, which is authoring, but just R in general. And so I'm here for that too. If people have questions about the analytical aspect of R, we could probably deviate a little bit into that. But primarily, we're here to answer questions about how do I create a presentation, or how do I do a report, or how to make a website. Tonight will be kind of fun and different, actually. Tonight will be a little different. So instead of focusing on a specific capability, we're going to start from scratch, start with nothing, and we're going to build a website unless someone comes by and says, I have a question about something else. That always takes priority, even though it's bulleted last year, that always takes priority. But in the absence of that, we'll craft a website from scratch and end up with it available for everyone to access. So these slides, by the way, are available online, so there's full access to those. It should be, I think I did that in the comments. Yes, I did post those in the comments, so they're available there in the comments. There's also a link to a tutorial where if you're interested in this, but maybe don't have a lot of exposure to this, or just curious, there's a walkthrough that you can follow on your local machine and make a report and just use kind of my default values and see if it's something that interests you. If so, it's very easy to take that template and customize it and make it your own. Okay, so because tonight's going to be kind of a working session, I'm just gonna chat with you a little bit while I'm building a website. It might take a little bit longer, so I'm going to be a little less. I'm going to be more conscious about how much time I spend just babbling. So let's limit the babbling, Kulas, and let's get our transition into what happened last week.
Our story opens today in the typical American community of Frostbite Falls, Minnesota. Like all small American towns, Frostbite Falls has a city hall, a church, a bowling alley, and a movie house. The only difference is that in Frostbite Falls, they're all in the same building. But the other downtown building holds the town's newspaper, the Frostbite Falls Picayune Intelligence, and its editor, Colonel McCornpone.
Stop the presses! Stop the presses!
What's up, Colonel? A big scoop?
Nope.
Election results?
Nope.
Cat up a tree?
Nope.
Then how come you want me to stop the presses?
Because we're broke. That's why.
Broke? How come? We print 50,000 copies a day.
Yeah, but we only sell 25 of them.
It was true. At that moment, the stacks of unsold Picayune Intelligences reached as high as the building itself.
I need something to boost my circulation, Mokesby.
How about a shot of adrenaline?
Not my personal circulation, the papers. What can we do to boost our sales?
Well, how about sponsoring a buried treasure hunt?
I've got it, smokes me! We'll sponsor a buried treasure hunt. How do you like that?
I couldn't like it better if it was my own idea.
So in a short while, Frostbite Falls was plastered with posters telling about the great event. And two of the first citizens to read about it were our heroes, Rocky the Flying Squirrel and his pal, Bullwinkle the Moose.
So I had to let that go a little longer than normal just to set up the premise because we're on to a new story arc now, and I don't know if anybody cares. I haven't heard that anyone does. Um, but if you do care, I I want the setup to be established as we're going to throughout the next, I don't know how many weeks, probably 6, 7, 8 weeks or so. We're going to be following that same story arc. By the way, if you're if you may be you may want to rewind that a little bit and look at the marquee for the 1966 1967 movie theater that is in Frostbite Falls, because the movie they're showing is actually Top Gun. Now, I'm assuming there's some previous version of Top Gun, but immediately it struck me all the kind of Simpson. There's this cartoons predicting the future kind of theme, or what do you call it? A trope? I don't know if it's a trope, but a theme that people have noticed and made me think about that as I was looking at the marquee outside the Frostbite Falls theater that could not have been established any earlier or, or any later than the mid 1960s. And the movie that they're featuring is Top Gun. Okay, regardless of that. So every week, because the way in which we explore these features, tonight we're going to be building a website. No idea what that's going to end up looking like, honestly. But because of that open-ended, hey, we're live kind of nature of what's going on every week, we do spend a little time recapping what happened the previous week. And last week we took a look at shortcodes, specifically Quarto shortcodes. And again, there's hyperlinks to resources embedded throughout these slides. If you're interested in a topic, I would recommend taking a look at those slides. And these were authored using the same processes we're going to talk about tonight. But the Quarto shortcodes, I guess I'm viewing them as macros or as shorthand shortcuts. Short, I think, is good here as a prefix, but kind of shortcuts to do something more complex. And the other metaphor I guess I was imposing on them, this is not the Quarto team, not the Posit team. This is just Kulas saying, oh, it kind of reminds me of this. They kind of remind me of inline code. So inline code that will grab something of relevance from data and report it within your document. This to me is doing something similar, where it's grabbing not a piece of analysis or a piece of data, but it's grabbing something relevant to the document itself. And so these shortcodes are pretty cool. I've been coming across more and more things in my documents that use the short code notation, and the short code notation is this. It's the two curly brackets and the angled brackets as opening and closing fences, and then content inside of that, inside of those two fences, is the short code content itself. So this bit and this bit are kind of communicating that what's coming and what just came was a short code, and then the bit inside of it is the kind of macro or shortcut of doing something that doing something potentially more complex anyway. So the Quarto team has a bunch of what what I'm calling pre-built shortcodes. So these are, as long as you have a fairly recent version of Quarto on your local machine, these should operate the same for everyone. Meta title and version I went through last week. So this value here, it can be different values. We played with title and author, but it's taking information from the YAML of your document, and the YAML is the front matter. Oh, I don't have my RStudio open. Since I've been publishing these slides, I don't rely on the local version as much anymore as I do just the online version. So I kind of want to see It's kind of nice to pull up the online version just to see if there's any mistakes, if I need to republish it, yada yada. So I'm going into my Quarto specification, the plain text file that was used to generate the slides that you're looking at, to actually pull up my YAML. So my front matter is a little complex because these have evolved and been kind of added to layer by layer over the course of about 2 years here. But when we say on the slides, when we say meta title as a shortcode, what we're asking for is we're asking Quarto itself to go in, look at the YAML. So that's sometimes called metadata, and I'm guessing where that word meta comes from. And it's saying just display whatever is included as the title. Now I have a couple of bits of HTML and CSS here, so those are styling specifications. One of them is I'm saying give me a break. Give me a break. It sounds like a commercial. I'm saying please, when this is rendered, place a break between for and authoring, and also apply some CSS, and that CSS is just give it some shadowing. We looked at that last week, but what's kind of interesting is that's being pulled up, not only the content but also the HTML and the CSS that's in the excuse me, title specification of my YAML. So you see that rendered here. So the break as well as the shadowing that's coming from my YAML. Version is one that I'll probably start using more frequently because it's a more efficient way to get the current version of the Quarto software to be rendered. I have a different way of asking for that right here, and that's more traditional to me. It's inline code, so I'm asking for that to be reported as an R, as a piece of R output, as opposed to a shortcode output, which would come directly from Quarto. So multiple ways to do kind of similar things. And then placeholder, we played with a few different options last week, but placeholder I think we'll probably work with tonight as well, in a live sense, because if we're going to build a website, I'm not sure I'm going to have all the images that we want, so we might just put some placeholder images in the website. Okay, so in addition to those pre-built shortcodes, and again, the link will take you to a bunch of those. I don't know that these are exhaustive, but these are all, that looks like 12, 15 or so. Those are all pre-built shortcodes that are featured on the Quarto help page. You can also build your own. So if something isn't there that you want in terms of functionality, you can build your own. And last week I was blown away with how easy it was to actually build our own, and we made one that just returned the current date. And if you go through this process, and there's a hyperlink, if you engage with Quarto create extension shortcode, that'll take you to a hyperlink that explains exactly the steps necessary and the steps that we took last week in order to build our shortcode. You are going to do that. You are going to want to do that within a project directory if you do build your own shortcode, and that's just because the stuff that's necessary, the stuff that's required to execute the capability of the shortcode is going to be easier to locate if it's in a project directory. Now, one of the maybe potentially scary things about creating your own is there's yet another language that that you're going to at least need to be aware of. I don't think you need to be familiar with it, but you need to be aware of it, and that's Lua. And Lua is used underneath the hood of a lot of these Quarto kind of functions and functionality and capabilities that we've been using. And it wasn't a big deal for us because we just fed this straight into an AI and said, hey, I want to change this Lua function from returning some text that says hello from Shorty, which is what their default boilerplate function will do, shortcode will do. And I want to change that to whatever it is that you're trying to facilitate and execute. And we were able to do that in a kind of one shot with an AI last week. We used Grok. It's kind of my initial go-to for, can we do this quick and easy? And then if there's difficulties there, then I'll engage with GitHub Copilot. And then if there's other difficulties, I might engage with something else. So one that we played with within Positron that was kind of neat, and I'd like to get back to a little more, but I haven't had opportunity to use it, with Super Maven. So Super Maven's another one, but Grok, I'm really impressed with how helpful that has been recently. So Grok gave us the Lua code that we needed to execute the date function that we were interested in. Okay, so that was last week. This week, after I get through my weekly coughing fit here, we will get on to what we're going to do this week. And this week, what I thought we would do is make a web page. Now, when I say make, I think the proper way to frame that is probably build. So I'm going to build a website. I actually chose make intentionally, and I forget off the top of my head why that was, but the build I thought kind of reflected something that maybe was not entirely consistent with what I wanted to convey in terms of what we're going to do here tonight. So what we're going to do here tonight is to build or make a website. Do it from within Quarto, start from nothing, and we'll end up with a site that other people can navigate to. Now, I have content in mind for this. If you've noticed in back of me, I have instruments, and throughout a lot of my life, I've been involved with bands. So starting in elementary school, I think I was in jazz bands. Maybe that might have been 7th grade, so it might have been middle school, but certainly through high school. And then college, was playing a little bit. We had guitar nights at my place. They were very, very fun and kind of popular. And then I was a member of 3 different bands that kind of played out in front of people. Well, if we count the one that I'm in right now as one. So I'm currently in a band. There's 3 of us, and we've just kind of started playing out in front of people. And so there have been discussions about, well, let's maybe make a website. So let's do it. So I volunteered last week at band practice. I said, if you guys still want a website, I can put one together. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to make a website for a band. And the name of the band is Kitty Wampas. It's kind of one of those double entendres a little bit, because Wampa is a Star Wars creature. If you've seen if you've seen Empire Strikes Back, the Wampa is the kind of Yeti-like creature that almost kills Luke. I don't know, that Luke, he's pretty slick. He usually finds some way to escape. And this, don't even get me started with the new ones. But in the good Star Wars, he always finds a way to escape. Okay, so we're gonna go through the Quarto recommendations here in terms of starting website. I've already done this a few times, so I don't think I need to spend a lot of time on this. But there are some walkthroughs depending on the IDE that you're in. There's 3 of them that they've chosen to highlight here. You could do this. I kind of was thinking, I was wondering if maybe we want to do this through Jupyter Lab, because I've really, really enjoyed working with Jupyter Lab, but I don't have that many. I don't have that many things that I do that really are helped by Jupyter Lab. Currently, I've been using it mostly as kind of a note-taking environment. But in consideration of people that might pop across this and be interested in building their own, I think we'll just do it within RStudio, because I have plenty of experience doing that. And then the only other thing that I think that I'm going to want to do that might be a little bit different is I am going to host this on GitHub, because it's an easy publishing process. Now, a couple weeks ago, we went through and we also connected my machine here to I think it's called Posit Connect Cloud. So we could publish there, just a single button publishing, but I am potentially going to want to, if my bandmates say, hey, this is something that we might actually want to do. That is, they think that the website is okay. I'll probably want to transfer this not to me as an owner, but to a GitHub repo that maybe one of them owns that is called Kittywampus, because the URL then will be a little more customized to that name. We're not at the point where we're going to build or buy our own domain name. I think this we're fine for just being on a free site, or at least I am. So I'm kind of talking a bit here as I kind of set up the repo. So I just made an empty repository called Kittywampus, and it looks like GitHub might have changed things a little bit here. So I'm going to copy the name of that repository so I can connect to it from within our studio, and it's empty. That's fine. I don't really care that it's empty. We're going to be adding plenty of content to it. Should do a README file if it's up. Let's maybe do that. And that's probably why this looks a little different. So I'm going to add a README file that just says this is a dev site for the awesome rock and roll band Kitty Wampas. Alright, I'm going to commit that. And Copilot recently, or GitHub recently, has started to they've started to actually have their AI make suggestions for commit messages, which I like that. I appreciate that. It's fine. It's helpful. Okay, so I'm gonna develop the site and publish information here so that such that we can access it through a GitHub hosted URL once we're ready to publish it. So that's why I'm doing that. That's not the only way to do this. Again, the other way would be to engage with the Posit Cloud Connect, and I'll show you that as well. The process is going to be the same regardless. So I'm going to start a new project, and I'm going to go version control git, and then the repository URL, that's what we just copied. And then because I do this weekly thing, it sometimes screws up where I keep things on my local computer. So I always have to be a little, when I'm going through our studio process, I have to be a little careful about that. Okay, and now we're connected, and you can see my README file. There it is. If we wanted to change it, we could do that. I guess we could add a picture or something like that, or an image or an icon or something, but we certainly don't need to. So it's duplicated here. Let's go ahead and do a new file, and it's a Quarto, probably presentation. Now there should be a walkthrough for a template website, and that's kind of what I'm looking for here. Presentation. It's not in here. Let me see. How do we? Huh. Okay. So I guess we will use more of the walkthrough than I thought. New directory. Oh, because it's the new directory. That's what it is. So it wants a different process to get the files. That's fine. That's a little. I guess we might have missed it. Did we miss it? Oh, it is. Okay. So that's interesting. There's a different walkthrough in the project wizard than I was familiar with. So the version control takes us through linking to the repo, whereas these two, I assume, are going to give us. It looks like only new directory is going to give us kind of what we want. Huh. Okay. Not thrilled about that, but call it kitty band. And we could initiate a Git repository off of this. I don't, for a couple of different reasons, don't like doing that. So we're not going to do that. What I will do is I'm going to copy the information in here, the sheets that we want. I'm going to copy that into, oh, this is getting messy. I don't know if I want to do that. I want other people to be able to do this. All right, let's just stay in here. And I'll show you kind of some of the pieces of information that are relevant, and then eventually I might move it. I might port this over to the repo that we already have established. But tonight we'll go through the publishing process on Posit Connect Cloud, just because it's going to be simpler. So there's a couple of important pieces of information here. One is the name of this landing page. It's called index, and index.qmd. That's going to render an index.html file. Index it's been important since, as far as I know, the beginning of the internet. It's kind of what hosting sites are looking for where to start. So index is always, as long as I've been doing this stuff, naming your initial file, the file where you want people to initially go for your home page. It's important to call that index, and so that's good that it's actually called index there. The other important file that we're getting as part of the kind of boilerplate template is the YAML specification. Now there's YAML information within each of these individual web pages. This is the home page. But those become a little less consequential within a project like a website or a book. With a website or a book, you're also going to want this _quarto.yaml file. And here's where you really kind of specify the meta look, feel, and structure of your website as you normally would at the top of your focused document. So this is important. There's a couple of nice things in here. One is that on lines 7 through 9 here, they're saying even though the internet says I want this called index, you can go ahead and label it as home, and you can do that with any page. That's kind of cool. And then we have a couple of theme options there. There's a piece of information that I don't know that we'll spend a lot of time on, but they also do specify a CSS file if we want to change the font, and we probably will with this band thing. So that's something that we'll probably want to play with. Okay, so let's just build it and see what it actually looks like. Within our studio, there's a build tab that's going to become active if you have, I believe it's triggering off this _quarto.yaml file. The reason I'm guessing that is because I don't know if it's a bug or what, but for a long time in different versions of our studio, the build where it said render website, it sometimes would flip back and forth website or book, and it would get a little confused, not confused, and I don't think it really matters, but sometimes if you're doing a book, it would say website. If you're doing a website, it would say book. Okay, so here you can see home, and there's probably not much in the about. Oh, okay. So there's information. So I think what we want to do on the landing page, first of all, let's add a little color here. So I think we probably want to do a night theme and a light theme. So it'd be nice to add that little button up here that says you can switch it from light to dark. So I'm going to do a Quarto light dark theme, just to see if there's any quick and easy kind of specifications here. Here we go. So we just want light and dark. I wanted to see kind of what layer that is underneath theme, if that was an indent or not. And then Litera, I'm not sure what that is. Let's take a look at Quarto website themes. See which ones we might want. So here's a listing of, I think there's about 25 of them or so. 25, yes. I don't know that we want to go through all of them, but I'm going to look for a light one. This band, I don't think we have our colors figured out yet, so maybe we'll just go flatly and darkly, and we can come back and change those. Now, in our studio, you should just be able to render without saving individual files. It will save files prior to rendering, or it should. That might be an option, I guess, that people might have set up differently on their different RStudios. But now you can see I have this lighter dark. I don't think I love the hyperlink color, so um, we could overwrite that within our CSS file that we have if we wanted to. LinkedIn. I hate LinkedIn so much. That little thing that just came up was LinkedIn. I mean, I'm not a social media lover anyway, but certainly for I don't know, LinkedIn, I'm no fan. But let's do one thing here. We need to add some images. So one place we can add images should be in the menu bar here. So let's see if we can add. I know we can add icons. We should be able to add images as well. So I'm going to do a add image to Quarto website. Was it called menu bar? Menu bar. And if it is a GitHub issue, I might want to look just to see if this is something that other people have noticed and are interested in. Looks like the nav bar is probably what we want. And I don't think we need an href to it. But so let's go back to our Quarto specifications. So on the left, I'm fine with the home page and the about information. So up here, upper left, I'm fine with that being on the upper left. What I'm looking to do here is to add an image on the right. And so it's going to be expecting that file to be, well, the way that it's currently specified, it's going to be looking for an images folder. I think it's probably okay for us to have an images folder. So we'll go ahead and put an image in there. Maybe let's look for a picture of a wampa. So anime wampa. Because it's got to be a cartoon. I mean, I can't just do... You know what, though? We should have... Our wampa should have kind of a transparent background to it because we do have light and dark themes on there. We'll see if we can put this in for now. See if it works. Oh, it's a goofy type, so we won't do that. Still looking for a decent image of a wampa. There's kind of a cute one. See if we can save that. It's coming in as a JFIF, which is not an image type that I'm interested in. This kind of looks more like a cat-ish wampa. So, boy, all the anime ones are coming in as really goofy images. You know, this is something that I've been seeing more and more is the image types. Wampa rug. Image types, unfortunately, I don't think it's a good thing for me, at least, as someone that's trying to capture them and embed them within things like this. I'd rather just kind of see consistently PNGs or JPEGs. There's a scary looking one. So that one's coming in as a crying out loud, people. Why are you why are these coming in so goofy? I'm going to put in the URL and see if it picks that up. It's kind of silly to even try that, because if it doesn't, it could be not doing it for a number of reasons. It could be the format of the image itself. It could be the double quotes that we actually have. So we'll have to remember to go back and put those double quotes back in, but it certainly didn't like that. And again, in the iframe preview that we get with RStudio, you may need to expand that in order to kind of get a good representation of what it is that you're trying to put in there. Now this cartoon, I just saw a cartoon this guy. So this guy or girl, I guess, I don't know, but I've used this before. Yay, it's a JPEG. So we can, this one should work okay. I'm going to go ahead and put it in a new repo that we have. Now, where did we put this? Kitty band. So that should be available now. It's probably going to be a little too vertical, like high for this space, but we'll try it. We should get something here. I guess I didn't read too far into that GitHub issue. It looked like this was a suggestion that was solved. The href, we actually don't need that. Okay, so it doesn't like that image. Let's try, I know we can get a fave icon on there pretty easy. So let's try that again. Quarto navbar image. And it looks like we're kind of at the same spot that we were at. I know we can do an icon. Icons are pretty popular to put in there, but it's going to be a little limited in terms of what's available to us. I think it'd be kind of fun to put an image in there. There's logo. Oh, that's side navigation. What we would like is, it'd be nice if we could put logo in the top bar. And I'm guessing it's not going to like that. Yeah, doesn't like that. We could do that in the sidebar. So that's sidebar navigation. I don't think we want a sidebar. I don't think we want a sidebar for the band website, however. So let's do a quick, since we don't have a lot of content in there quite yet. I'd like to put an image in my website, in my Quarto website navbar, top of page. Let's see what happens there. So the fave icon is kind of the way that it's typically done. Yeah, it looks like it's just logo. Oh, maybe it didn't like this. The dashes is something that I'm still not 100% sure on in terms of when you should use those, when you don't want to use those. It looks like it wants it to be not specified as an indent after left or right. So we'll see what happens here. Lots of back and forth. There it is. Okay, so I mean, it's not it's not something It's not something that's very visible, but we do have a placeholder there. I think we'll just leave that for now and we'll come back to it. So let's put a little content in here about the band. So we'll change the name from Kitty Band to Kitty Wampus. And we'll say Kitty Wampus is a power rock trio from the Twin Cities area. We'll leave 1+1 in there for now, but we'll put some images in there. Now I did ask our guitar player for some images, so we'll put those in, and then we'll see if maybe we want to play with how those are structured in terms of the looks of them. So he shared with me this morning a few different images of us out and about. There's the full band. Maybe we'll do the full band first, huh? Let's do that. So there's a band image. I'm going to save that. As band. We'll navigate to the project folder, and it's a little buried, so I gotta play around a little bit, but we'll say a full band. That's one image, and then I do have individual kind of each person. Oh, what is that? That's a different. It's not very flattering. Maybe we'll just put the one image in for now, and then we can come back and fill that in later if we want. So again, looking at my files folder, there's a full band. And I got to remember to put it, or to locate it in the right spot. And probably don't need to re-render each time that something like this is done, but for the major pieces, I think it's probably a good idea to do that. Let's have a calendar page, because those are important. So I'm going to change. My throat. I'm telling you, I don't know how much longer I can do it. My throat's giving out. We can change the name of this because I think having gone through this a few times, it's helpful to have your QMD pages aligned with the name of the page itself. So I think we'll call this calendar. And we could do that in the QMD as well, but I'm going to change about QMD to calendar. This isn't absolutely necessary, but again, just for developer navigation, it's actually helpful. So I'm going to rename that. If I can find the rename button, and we're going to call it calendar. And then I think we also want, so in addition to the home page and calendar, we want a what would we call it? Like discography, I guess. And that's kind of silly, but what I'm thinking is we do have some videos, so I'll probably put links on there to the videos. So we'll do a copy to. We'll call this discography. And in that discography, we'll call it discography. Now, the on the web page itself, it's going to, where it says home or about, it's going to pull that from the title field of these individual YAMLs. And again, that can be overridden here if we want. If if we just want to add this text statement, that's fine. But we can also here put in past shows, and I know, so let's just render this and see if we get 3 pages now instead of 2. And one of the cool things about these Quarto websites is depending on the device that you're on, you're going to have different kind of navigation. So here you see this 3-bar navigation when it's expanded to that goes to a more kind of normal PC type layout. The discography doesn't have anything in it. The calendar doesn't have anything in it. So I think what we'll do tonight is we'll populate these 2 things with some content, and then that'll be kind of a framework page. So we have a couple of, and we can actually use a shortcode for this. I'm kind of excited about this. So let's use a shortcode. See if we can find. So here's one of the videos that we have with ads. I'm not sure why these ads are on there. Honestly, it's not my site. I don't run it. I have asked why there's ads on it before, but haven't gotten a good answer on that. So there is a short code for videos. So let me see if we can pull up tonight's slides just one more time here and go to our go to our shortcodes option and look at the video to see what I want to do. Yeah, it's just video, and then the video length, that's fine. We can play with width and height, which we might want to do, but let's just see if that pulls it in for now. And then I don't remember when this one actually was, but we should probably put a date on there. Yeah, so that's pulling up great. So we got past shows, and then again, that's not it's not a picture of the band. There's the band itself, landing page. That's fine. Make sure that the video works. That seems to work fine. Should put a date on there. I don't remember when exactly it was, but I can put a fake date on there for now. So it says title. So let's try that. I've never used this shortcode before, so this was, I believe, around November of 2025. Let's see what that looks like. Man, my throat is just... Okay, that's probably an alt title is what's coming through on that. So we're going to say... We're just going to put it in as a heading there. And then we'll move on to the calendar. So calendars will have upcoming events. And there should be a few options. I've done these in the past with students on documents and put them at the end in terms of important dates on there. But let's ask, I do like what Grok's been giving me for this stuff. So we'll go back to Grok and say, what are my options for an event calendar on a Quarto website? I'm using R. Because in the past, the calendars that I've pulled have been from R packages. But maybe there's a Quarto option. Maybe there's some... It says there's no extension dedicated to it. Yeah, the Google Calendar, I guess we could do... I don't know. I don't know that I want to share a Google Calendar. So can do a JavaScript one. I know that there are some R packages as well. And if Grok doesn't answer us, I might look back through some of my old files just to see what those packages are. They might not be supported anymore either. So there's a calendar package. I don't think I have that. That's not one that I recommend. So we'll have to install that first. So that was a quick install. I'm not sure what that's doing. So the IC write is obviously a function from the calendar package. We'll see what it does. There's the band. There's the calendar. Didn't give me, well, it doesn't like how we put in our dates. So I'm gonna redo that and see. There's so much going on here. I'm gonna redo that and see if this is something we can salvage. If not, we'll go to a different calendar. Then we'll publish it. I don't know if I'll show the band quite yet because I don't know if this is what they're going to want it to look like in final form. But again, kind of some of the initial elements being there are fine, I think, as long as we can get a calendar in there. I don't like that. Oh, then you got to convert it. No, we don't want to do that. Calendar, that sounds better. So I'm asking for a calendar or code snippet because that's fine for what we want to do. Looks like there's some more interactive capabilities there. I'm just looking for uh, static thing that we can update as we want to go in there. We'll see if we can do the most complex one first. And if that works and we like it, we'll just keep it. If it doesn't work, we'll go back and see if we can do kind of a simpler one. So calendar, I'm guessing I don't have that either. I do now have calendar, which I don't think we're going to use. But in addition to calendar, I now have calendar. Things I get on these weekly sessions, I tells you. Let's see here. I didn't like Y day, so I'm going to try a simpler code snippet here and see if, okay, there's a lot less information in there, so hopefully we're going to be okay. I forgot the calendar library call, so I'm also going to get rid of some of the chunk specifications there just because we don't need it right now. We're not trying to optimize anything. We're just trying to get the functionality there, the capability there. Hey, there it is. I mean, you know, we might want to play with that a little bit, but there is a calendar there. So let's go back here and see if we can. I don't think, yeah, I think we might want a monthly calendar. It's asking for Luber date as well. So we're getting a little Luber date I love. So it's probably something we would eventually use if we were keeping like a database or something of dates. Now we don't have that many things going on where we actually need to keep a database of dates. So I tried to render the page individually there. Sometimes that's okay, and sometimes more often within these more complex projects like a book or a website, it's not you're going to want to render the whole website mostly. Previews are not something that I've had great success with in RStudio, and I think it's a matter of terminology. So previews are definitely, it's a Quarto function, but when you're operating with the terminal, the preview is easy to specify, and I could ask for a preview in the terminal here, but it's something that's done in Positron. It's something that's done in JupyterLab. It's not something that I ever do within RStudio because I got the button here. So I just go up to the button and say render. But preview is supposed to be an option as well. So it doesn't like fill. There's no fill, is there? I don't see a fill. Probably coming from special days here, I'm guessing. Let's just get rid of those and see if that's the issue. Yeah, I don't think it, so we'd have to deconstruct that a little bit. I don't think it liked the special days. There we go. I don't mind that. So we have a calendar. I would like to put a color on one of those days. So let's see if we can do that. So I'm going to what am I going to do? I think we need to look at calendar a little bit here. And see what we want to do here. So I'm going to look at the reference. Oh, there is an HTML manual. That's probably a little easier to navigate. It looks like it's the same information, so it probably isn't easier to navigate. I'm going to go back to the PDF. And what was the function we used? It's actually calendar. So let's look at that calendar on page 2. Oh, lovely. So I love these packages that are only just a couple of functions. I have one of these myself with Diego, who comes on here occasionally. So maybe that's why I'm partial to this, but I really like that. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm interested in. So month from 2, we should be able to do that as well. So maybe let's play with that a little bit. Instead of just having June, we should be able to do, well, there's a lot in there. Title, subtitle. I would like to put content in there. Man, there's a lot. Okay, there's a ton of information that we can actually put in there. It's already over time. Let me, over the course of the next week, see if I can put some content in there, and then I'll share what that code actually looks like. But calendar is fine for what we want to do. I think I'm going to set that echo to false and message to false and warning to false, because we don't need all this stuff above the calendar, so we just want an event calendar. Let's see if we can, one last thing, let's see if we can do from and to. See if it'll give us a few months there. Special, this is not coming through either because the special days is not coming through. Just by kind of by the way in which I normally engage with this, I accidentally hit render again. So it looks like it doesn't like the to and from. Was that not? From and to. There's so much here. Let's do one more with grok. Oh, there's commas. I might have just missed the commas. Oh, I see. So, so it kind of did what we were interested in, but because we're on month instead of year, it gave us the days of the month instead of the. So that makes sense. So we'd probably need to say year, and then from and to we could do months that way. For now, I'm just going to leave it as a full June month. That's fine. Maybe something will come up here in June for us. There we go. Okay. So, kind of not so impressive, I would say, initial kind of go at a website, but we have content up there, placeholder content that we can take and we can maybe take and customize a little bit. Okay. So as a final thing, what I'm going to do is, and next week I might show a different process in the recap of next week, and I'll show what the final website looks like. But for now, we'll go ahead and use the single button option that we have because we just recently connected to this. So we should be able to do the publish website, and we'll go to connect.posit.cloud. Probably want to make sure that the images are in here, and they are. So that's probably the most important thing. Let's see if we can publish that. And again, I'm not sure I'm even going to save this with the bandmates until I maybe do a different calendar. I don't know if there's other content that they actually want on there. But the process that we're using is actually fairly straightforward and fairly easy. Hopefully you get a sense of some of the just back and forth with AIs or help pages in terms of the little style things like, well, how do I get an image up there? Maybe I don't want an image up there. I don't think I do want an image up there. So at least this one. So this image just is not, it's a little too small for what I was going for. The night theme looks fine, I think. The right sidebar, I'll probably get rid of that. I don't think I want the right sidebar. That's popping up when it's popping up when I have a header on there. So I could either get rid of the header or I could password. The heck is my password? I think I wrote it down here. What was your password, Kulas? I know you just wrote it down recently. I told you we would get this published. So now I'm feeling kind of bad. I'm going to have to say I forgot my password because we're definitely going to want to. Just, the final step is just see if you can get it published. See if other people can access it. That's the whole point of a website, right? You want other people to be able to access it. So what I did was I said I forgot my password. They didn't shame me too much. They just said check your email. So that's what I'm doing. Hopefully not showing. Trying not to show the page that has the reset on it. So I'm going to enter a new password. Crying out loud. I thought I had. Well, now, if you really want my password, you can come and see how I like. I'm very meticulous about how and where I keep those passwords. So I think I reset it. And try to log in. And again, I'm not too concerned about this because it still doesn't like. Oh, I had the caps lock on. I'm not overly concerned about this because I don't think this is going to be the ultimate site. I'm just doing this to show that you can do this. Oh, for crying out loud. I just logged in. There we go. Okay, so it looks like it is up. And we saw last time we were on here, we can probably play with the URL a little bit. So right now it's kind of a goofy URL. And it gives you the option on Posit Connect Cloud to change that. The suggestion had the name of the band within the URL itself. The GitHub site, once we host it there, it'll be even a little less unwieldy in terms of the name of it. So let me see if I can find that. There we go. So that should now be the website that we can use. And let me put that in comments. Okay, so there's a link to the, again, not very fancy, not a ton of content on there, but it's a start. It's got an image on there. It's got an icon on there. It's got 3 different pages. Each page has some information that's relevant for the band. I got a picture of the band. I got a video of the band. And we got a calendar on there with currently nothing on it. So what I'll do I'll probably do it tonight yet, is I'll go in there and I'll update that with a little more content. I'll maybe put another couple pictures on there, maybe play with the styling a little bit in terms of just the colors of things. I'm not sure I like green as a hyperlink. And I'll probably try to get rid of that right-hand nav bar as well that is popping up when I have a subheading on a page. Okay. If you want to see that, let me know. I don't, again, this was a little different in terms of these weekly sessions. This wasn't checking out a capability. This was more, this is a full project and see if we can get through the full project. And so I think we did. So I think we did get through the full project. It's up there. It's available. People can access it. All right. So next week, if you have any ideas, if there's something you want to see, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep finding something on my own and then trying to share it with all good people. All right. Good night, everybody. See you next week.